Welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Sarah and today I'm back with a reading vlog. I just finished my October reading wrap up and I thought this would be a good time to just start a new reading vlog. I put out a vlog a couple of weeks ago that was a try a chapter tag, and in that I said that previously I have been trying to theme my vlogs but that's not really working for me at the moment, just because I don't like feeling like I have a whole list of books that I need to read within a certain time period. So I thought I would just do a sort of week in my reading life, just showing you what I'm reading without any structured TBR. And I'm going to see how that goes. The one issue I have with when I just mood read with no idea of what is I feel like I waste an awful lot of time trying to pick what book I want to read next. So that is the one good thing about having a structured TBR. But yeah, I think that my goal for the rest of the year is just to try and read some of the books off of my physical TBR, because I've been reading an awful lot of ebooks and library books and that's all fine, but yeah, I have an awful lot of books that I have been meaning to read and I've just not got to. So that is my plan. Having said that, I am currently reading a library book as an ebook, but I'd already started that, so I'll finish that and then I'll go on to the physical books. So it's currently Saturday and I am working today, so I don't know how much reading I will realistically get done, but I will talk you through what I'm reading at the moment and we'll go from there. So yeah, I'm currently reading All Fours by Miranda July as a library ebook. I have not read any Miranda July before. I didn't really know who Miranda July was, even though I think she's very popular. And I just heard people talking about this book and I saw that my library had a copy, so I reserved it and it's now come in. And I think I've read about 30 pages of this book so far and I am enjoying it actually. I really like the tone of it. So we're following our main character she's just turned 45 and she has a husband and she has a child, and she has decided that she's going to New York for a week to go to some museums and see some friends as a sort of treat to herself on her 45th birthday. She seems to be quite a successful creative, and it seems like her relationship with her husband is maybe a little bit tired. It's not that it doesn't seem to be going terribly, but she sort of seems a little bit disillusioned with it. And her husband says at a party that there are two types of people in life. There are the drivers and there are the parkers. And he says that a driver is a sort of person who, would just drive across the US for no apparent reason, just for the fun of it, and a parker is a sort of person that only gets joy out of doing a difficult parking maneuver and being able to be like, look, I just did that. And he thinks that she's a parker and she's like, no, I'm not a parker, I'm going to be a driver. So she decides that instead of flying to New York, I think she lives in LA, she's going to drive to New York. And that's where I'm at just now. She's just started her road trip, so it's going to take her about 6 days to get to New York. She's then going to have a week there and then she's going to drive back for 6 days, and she is a little bit anxious about it because she's never been away from her child for that long. And she seems to have really overplanned the trip. She's gone and bought loads of things for her car journey. She's got audiobooks, she said that she was buying sun repellent driving clothes. So yeah, it seems like she's really overthought it. So yeah, I think it's going to be a road trip type novel. And yeah, so far I think the writing is really good. It's very it's not taking itself too seriously. And yeah, I'm enjoying it. So I'm going to see how it goes. I then just finished Mexican Gothic last night, and yeah, it was ultimately not a book that I really loved. So I don't know, I just wanted to pick up something that was a bit shorter. And I just feel like I've had a run of a few books that I've not really loved. So I want to pick up something that I think I will like, obviously. And it's not too long. So I'm going to go for The Witness for the Dead, which is the second book in the Goblin Emperor series. I really liked The Goblin Emperor. I read it a couple of months ago, and so then I immediately bought the sequel, and so I want to read this before I forget what happened in The Goblin Emperor, because at the start of The Goblin Emperor there was like a huge glossary of explanation about there was a huge glossary of different words and what they meant, and this book has not got a glossary at all, so I'm going to need to either go back to The Goblin Emperor to remind myself or try and figure out what's going on. So I think that this is going to be a good choice to read straight away. So The Goblin Emperor was a book about this sort of about our main character Maya, who is I think about 18, and he finds out that his father has died, but he is basically estranged from his father, and not just his father but all of his older brothers have died, so he is now the next in heir to the throne, but he's been in exile because his mother was in exile and then she died, so yeah, he's basically been removed from court life all this time, and then he arrives and he's the emperor, and he's also half goblin because his mother was goblin, and in this world most of the nobles are elves, so he's sort of odd one out. And we spend the whole book basically trying to work out with him, trying to work out exactly what's going on, who has alliances with who, and how the whole system works. And I really enjoyed it. It was like very slow burn and nothing like too crazy happened, but I really enjoyed it. So this book follows sarahsreadingjournal, who is in the first book, and he is a witness for the dead essentially. So he's sort of like a private investigator, but he can also commune with the dead in some way. He's not a huge character in the first book, but he was sent by Maya to go and find out who killed his father, because it seems like it wasn't an accident. He died in an air crash, like an aircraft crash, that to start with they thought was an accident, but turns out it maybe wasn't. So sarahsreadingjournal is sent away to investigate. And in the first book we do get the resolution to that story, I believe. So I think in this book he's now living far from the court. It said, so let me just read. It says, sarahsreadingjournal found the truth, though it did him no good to discover it. Now he lives in the city of Emile, far from the court, though not exactly in exile. He has not escaped from politics, but his position gives him the ability to serve the common people of the city, which is his preference. He lives modestly, but his decency and fundamental honesty will not permit him to live quietly. So I think this is almost like a spin-off. It doesn't really seem to be following like the same place or many of the same characters from the first book. I think this is, sarahsreadingjournal now lives in this other city, and we're going to follow his life as witness for the dead there. So I'm going to see how this one goes. This one's quite a lot shorter than the first book, and the writing is way bigger than the first book. So this is my plan for the next few days. I'm going to keep you updated with what I'm reading, what I'm doing, and we'll see how we got on with a more just laid back, chatty reading vlog. Hello, it's now Sunday morning, and the clocks went back last night, which meant an extra hour of sleep, and it's now light at like 7 o'clock again, so that's really good. So it's 7:45, and I just come back from a run, hence my very red face. So yeah, I'm loving that. I think it's only light in the morning for like a couple of weeks, and then we're back to darkness until about 8 o'clock again, but never mind. It's actually a really nice morning as well. So as I said, I was working yesterday, and normally when you work a Saturday at my work you get the Monday off, but I already had to take a day off during the week to go home for a funeral, so I've only got a 1-day weekend now, which is not great. I'm like regretting it. I should have just taken a day of holiday, but anyway. I don't really have any plans for today, so I'm hoping to get some reading done. But I did do a little bit of reading last night, so I'm now about 80 pages into The Witness for the Dead by Katherine Addison. And yeah, I'm actually really enjoying it. It took me about 30-40 pages to get into it, because it's not really a direct sequel. It is sort of a side character whose story we're now following, and like, to be honest, I think we're meant to remember his backstory from the first book, but I can't. So he's like talking about grief that he went through. And I'm like, I can't remember who you are. Like, I know which character he was in the original book, but I can't remember any of his backstory. So I'm maybe going to need to look that up if it's going to become a big part of it. And I had a look on Goodreads because I thought there were 4 books in the Goblin Emperor series, but there's 4 books in that world, and the 2nd, 3rd and 4th book are like a trilogy following this side character. So I think we're actually done with the Goblin Emperor story itself, and the rest are going to be these books. And they kind of seem like murder mysteries, which I don't particularly enjoy normally. I just, as soon as the reveals happen, even if I'm enjoying it at the time, I just lose interest. Like, I can never remember anything, and it's not very interesting to me, mysteries. However, having said that, I do really like Katherine Addison's writing style, and that is, in the moment, really saving the book for me. So essentially, in the first book, there are witnesses for the dead who can commune with the dead. So our main character, Thara Selahar, is a witness for the dead, and so basically people come to him with, like, say someone in their family's died and there's a dispute with the will, they can go and commune with the dead and find out what that person wanted, and then make a ruling. It seems like they can commune better with the freshly dead, and the longer someone's been dead, they sort of lose the ability to be able to speak to them. And so I think the main drive of the story is going to be, there is a woman that is found washed up on the shore, and someone comes to him to ask him to investigate how she died, and it seems like it was murder. So yeah, he's now going and speaking to various people who knew her. She was an opera singer, so he's gone to the opera, and yeah, so far I'm really enjoying it. The one thing I would say is I find the names so confusing in this book, and yeah, I said, like, in the first book there was a glossary of all the names, but because we're dealing with different characters in this book, like, I can't use the glossary from the first book to figure out who the characters are in this book, because there's no crossover really. Some of the words, I suppose, for the world would be useful, but yeah, there's something about the names, like, they just don't stick with me. I just like gloss over them because they're all unusual names. So that's proving a slight issue, but apart from that, I am really enjoying it. I've also read a little bit more of All Fours by Miranda July, and I'm really enjoying it as well, but it's gone in a different direction from what I thought it was doing. So I thought it was going to be a road trip novel, but it's not going to be a road trip novel. I'm going to go and read the blurb for this so that I know how much to share, because I'm kind of unsure as to how far through I actually am, because I had to change the font size in the ebook because it was so tiny, and then that obviously changes the number of pages in the book. So I read I think I'm on page 80 and out of 385, but I'm not sure if that's actually only 40-50 pages through the physical book. So I'm going to check the blurb and I'll check in with you later, because I don't want to share spoilers, because I basically never read the blurbs in books because I like to be surprised. Although sometimes it can backfire, because there's some books that I pick up and think, oh, if I knew what this was about, I would never have read this. But there you go. So yeah, I think I'm just going to have sort of a lazy day. I should food shopping. And that's about it. So yeah, I'll check in later once I've done a little bit more reading. Hello, it's now Monday, and I am just waiting to go for a physio appointment. So I thought I'd give you a quick update, because I'm a bit early, and it is absolutely miserable outside, so I'm just sitting in the car in the rain. I have almost finished The Witness for the Dead. I have about 45 pages left, and I'm honestly really enjoying this one. I'm kind of surprised because, as I say, it's sort of a murder mystery, but it's actually a very interesting book where there's no main thread of the plot. It's sort of just this character's the days in his life as this witness for the dead, and there's no one strand of the plot that's more important than any other, which I really like, because it sort of almost makes it feel like cozy fantasy, where it's just you seeing his little missions, even though none of his tasks are particularly pleasant. But yeah, as I started looking up where I could get the 3rd book in this series from today, so that's a good sign. So I'm definitely really enjoying it. I think I'll finish it this evening. And I've made a little bit more progress with all fours, but I've not read too much. But yeah, I had a look, and it's definitely not a spoiler, but basically the main character in this book goes on this road trip, and she gets like a few miles down the road, and she decides she's going to stop at a motel for the evening, and she just stays there. So her husband thinks that she's on this 3-week road trip across America to get to New York, and then she's in New York, where she's actually just like living in a motel a couple of doors down. So it's a bit absurd, but I'm actually really enjoying it. I think Miranda July's writing is really funny. I quite often struggle with funny fiction. If you don't find it funny, then it can be really cringy, but it's more just sort of like quirky and strange, and not really, it's not like funny haha, but it's more just like little quips. So yeah, I am really enjoying it, but I'm only about like a third of the way through. It seems to be reading really slowly. I think because I'm reading it on my phone and it's not really my main book, I'm more focused on The Witness for the Dead. I'm just reading it when I've got time, but I've not had that much time to just pick up my phone. So yes, that's where we're at just now. I'm going to go in for my physio, and then as I say, I think I'll finish The Witness for the Dead this evening, and then I'll see what I fancy picking up next. I have no real ideas of what I want to read next, which is kind of good, but I feel like I could waste an hour trying to decide what I want to read. Hello, I'm out for a lunchtime walk, and yeah, I thought this would be a good opportunity to update you, but I'm not sure what the sound quality is going to be like, because yeah, there's like quite a lot of wind, so we'll see how this goes. But yeah, it's now Wednesday, and I last updated you on Monday evening. I finished The Witness for the Dead by Katherine and Addison on Monday night, and I really liked it. You know, I definitely will be finishing this series, but the one thing I would say about it is that she really writes her characters to be very nicey. They're like too nice. Like the main character is too good, and if you're like a fan of murder mysteries or any sort of mystery, then I probably wouldn't recommend this one, because it was all tied up sort of in the last 10 pages, and there's like no way you could have guessed who did it. Like it was that was not really the point in the book, which is why I liked it, because I don't really care about mysteries. But if that is something that you do like and you like to be able to guess, then yeah, I would not recommend it. But yeah, I think I just liked how all of the like different threads came together in this, and there was no huge overarching plot, but I can see why a lot of people would really not like that. So yeah, I looked on Goodreads as well, and the next book in the series gets really good reviews. So I will definitely pick it up soon, but not immediately, because I'm really trying not to buy many books before the end of the year. So that probably will be the next book that I buy when I buy a book. Then yesterday I had a huge indecision about what to read next, and this is kind of my one problem with not having a clear idea of what to read next, because I honestly do waste so much time just deciding, and I like pick up loads of books and I read one page trying to figure out what I'm in the mood for. And I finally decided that I am in the mood for The Lady's Paradise by Emile Zola. So I started reading this book in my try a chapter tag video. I read the first 20 pages and I was really enjoying it, and I said at the start of that video that I would probably read that book throughout it, but I ended up only reading 2 and then I was not really in the mood for it, but yeah. But I have decided to pick it back up and I'm really enjoying it. I'm only about 60 pages in, so I've only read about 40 more pages. I read that this morning, but yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far. So I'll just recap in case you didn't see that other video, but basically the reason why I picked this book up is because I'd read one of Emile Zola's other books in his Rougon Macquart series. It's a series of 20 books, maybe even more, but at least 20 books that follow a couple of families throughout 19th century France. The first book was set in this little village called Plassans, I think. And it was very political, and I didn't really love it. I didn't really love Zola's writing style. Also, this didn't help. I took it out of the library and the edition they gave me was the weirdest copy of a book I've ever seen. Like, the font was weird, the size was weird, it had no picture on the front cover, like it was all just white. Sorry, I don't know what that strange noise is. So that also put me off, and yeah, it's just not a book for me. But I saw that Brandon Taylor had written this really big article about reading all 20 of the books, and he sort of compared it to 21st century life, and I really wanted to read that article and understand more about the books, but I thought I should probably read some more of the books first. And so I thought what I would do, instead of going through them in the recommended reading order, because I think you can read most of them as standalones, I just decided I would pick up the book that sort of appealed to me most in the series, and that was The Lady's Paradise, because it's set in Paris, and it's all about the first sort of department store in Paris. So yeah, it's about shopping, and I think it seems like it's going to be quite a dramatic book, and I'm really loving the description of Paris and the clothes and this sort of like shop environment. It is really just, yeah, it really appealed to me, and so far it's definitely giving me that. So yeah, we have our main character, Denise, who has just moved to Paris with her two younger brothers. One of them is 16, and one of the reasons why they've moved is that he got involved with a married woman back in their hometown, so they had to leave. Their parents have both died, and their uncle, when their father died, their uncle invited them to come and live with him and work in his shop. He owns a draper's shop in Paris, but that was like a year ago, and they just turn up at his doorstep assuming that the offer still stands, and he's like, oh no, I said that a year ago, things aren't going so well in my shop. One of the reasons why being that his shop is right across the road from this massive department store, so he's starting to struggle because of that. One second, I'm just walking up a big hill. And so he says that they can stay, but he can't give Denise a job. However, there are vacancies at the department store, so she goes across there to try and get a job, and she meets and then we meet the manager, Octave Millet, who's basically the mastermind behind this department store, and I think we're going to go into his life as well. So I'm really enjoying it so far. As I say, I'm not very far through it, but like I don't even see it as the same author as the first book, and maybe that's just because it's a better translation, or I don't know, it's a later book so his writing has improved, but yeah, I'm enjoying this one so much more. So that's really good. I've also made a little bit of progress with Miranda July, but I'll wait until I've read a bit more and sort of update you later on that one. But yeah, I am going out for drinks after work tonight, so I'm not really going to get any reading done today. So yeah, I will check in with you later. I think The Lady's Paradise is about 400 pages, so it's a bit of a longer read, and it is quite a slow read. It's very descriptive, so I'm not sure how quickly I'm going to get through it, but yeah, I'm just going to try and take my time and really savour it and enjoy. So yes, I'll catch up with you soon. Hello. It's now Saturday afternoon, although it does look later because it's very dark in here. Yeah, not really. I think I last updated you on Wednesday, and I've not done loads of reading since then. I've been quite busy, so yeah, I went out for dinner and drinks after work on Wednesday, and I did not feel very good the next day, and I think it's because I had a fish pie, and I think it maybe had some sort of like shellfish in it, and I'm like sort of allergic to shellfish. It's not terrible, but yeah, I didn't really feel very good. I don't think it was a hangover. And then yeah, I've been working pretty much. And we went for breakfast, we went to the shops and stuff this morning, but I have got some updates. I have finished All Fours by Miranda July. I think when I last updated you, I was about halfway through this book, and the second half was a little bit of a slog for me, to be honest. I'd say that overall I did enjoy it. I thought it was a good book, but I don't know, it's very hard to talk about because I feel like quite a lot happens in this book, and when I went into it I didn't really know what it was about. Basically, this is a woman having sort of a midlife crisis, and she's quite erratic in her behaviour and in her thoughts, and I think that's what I found a little bit difficult, because I really liked a lot of its commentary on like ageing, especially for women, and society and monogamy and motherhood. I thought all of that was very interesting, but I found the main character, quite annoying to start with. I thought she was quite funny, but as the book went on, her behaviour was very erratic, and that makes sense because she sort of was going through a midlife crisis, but I found it quite frustrating to read about because in one chapter she'd be like, okay, here's my plan, here's what I'm going to do, and it would be something crazy. And then the next chapter she would have moved on from that and be on to the next crazy thing. And so I found it was quite plot heavy and quite fast moving. Not that loads happened in it, but just that she jumped from like planning to do one thing and then the next thing. And for me, that was quite a lot of plot. It just felt like every single chapter was building up to some sort of climax, and then the next chapter would be like the next stage in her story. And after a while I found that quite tiring because I felt like there was no respite. It was just like building and building. I don't really know what I would compare this to. I think if you like books about people having a bit of a meltdown, then this one was good. It's just like, no, I don't know, I'm struggling to know how to speak about it because I did enjoy it, but yeah, I found it a little bit difficult to get through, and it ultimately, what I liked about it to start with, the narrator's tone, I found irritating towards the end. I think it was maybe too long, to be honest, for what it was trying to do. It felt like I kind of got the point, and then it just kept like pushing on and on and on. So sad. I am glad I read it though, because I have heard a lot of people talking about this book, and I kind of wanted to know what the hype is about, and I do get it. I think that Miranda July has a very interesting voice, and I do think it's nice to see older female characters in books. So yeah, I would recommend if you like that sort of thing. I have also read about 60 more pages of The Lady's Paradise, and I'm really enjoying it still. So at this point we're starting to get quite a lot of backstory of the shop owner, whose name is Octave Mouret, and I think that if I had read them in order I would have met him in another book before, because it seems like we're meant to know who his relations are and who he is, and where he's come from. But we're really getting a look into his head, and sort of he's this business mastermind who has a big plan for his shop, and we're getting like really a lot of detail into like the nitty-gritty of running a shop and yeah, his bigger plan. The point we're at just now, he has planned this big sale where basically he's selling things at a loss, or he's just breaking even in order to like advertise his shop to make people think that the prices are really cheap, whereas in reality, like, some things are cheap, but some things are the same price as at smaller shops, and you can sort of see that it's like things that are still going on today with Amazon and stuff, that they do sometimes sell things at a loss just to make you think that their prices are really cheap, and then they can push the prices up after that, but everyone already thinks that they're getting a good deal, so they don't bother price checking everything. So it's been really, really interesting from that side of things as well. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it, and I'm really enjoying the writing style as well. But yeah, so I'm only like 120 pages in, and it's about 400 pages, so still quite a long way to go with that. And so I was hoping that by the time I'd finished all fours, another Libby hold would have come in, but it's not. So I have like on my Edinburgh library card, which is the one I mainly use for Libby because they have the most books out of the libraries that I'm signed up to, I already have 10 out of 10 holds, and most of them are at least a couple of weeks left on them. So I had to look to see if there was anything available to borrow now, because I do like having a book to read on my phone just for when I'm out and about and stuff. And so I have borrowed a couple that I thought looked interesting. So I've borrowed The English Understand Wool by Helen Dewitt. This one's really short, it's only about 60 pages, and I've heard really good things about it, so I think I'm going to start that one today and see how I got on. And then another two that I thought looked interesting was My Antonia by Willa Cather, which I don't really know much about it, but Willa Cather is an American author from the 20th century that gets referenced quite a lot, and I think that My Antonia is her most famous work, so yeah, she's someone that I've meant to check out for a while. I had looked for her books in my library before, like physical library, but they didn't have any, so I'd sort of just forgotten about her. So I've borrowed that, and also Lolly Willowes by Sylvia Townsend Warner. I've not read any of her books before, but I think this one is sort of good for Halloween. It's about this like woman that decides she doesn't want to marry, and then she starts getting involved in witchcraft, I think. I've heard Jane over at Jane's Bookish Thoughts really rave about it, so I'm interested to pick that one up as well. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to read all of those, but I'm going to start with The English Understand Wool, or The English Don't Understand Wool. Can't remember. And I think I could probably read that over the weekend, and then I'll see what I feel like next. So yeah, that's my little check-in. I don't have any huge plans for the rest of the weekend. I'm going away for a week next weekend, so I'm kind of using this weekend to relax and try and get some stuff organised before we go away. So yeah, should have a bit of time to do some more reading, and I'll keep you posted. So it's Sunday night, and I am back with another update. Probably my last update for this video. I think I'm just going to finish it off today because I need to try and get it edited before Wednesday. So yeah, I thought I was going to have loads of reading time last night, but we ended up having a movie night, which was sort of unsuccessful. So I mentioned in a previous video that I had like a really discounted subscription for Mubi, and I had watched a couple of films when I first got it, and then I've not really watched anything since. So I went on to cancel it because even though it was only £3.50, like I wasn't really watching anything. But when I cancelled it, it said I still had to the 15th of November. So I was like, well, let's try and watch a film before it runs out. And yeah, it didn't really go very well. We tried The Sacrifice, which is a 1986 film by a Swedish director. I can't remember his name. And the synopsis of this looked quite interesting. It was about a man that discovers that World War III and nuclear catastrophe is imminent, and he has decided he's going to make a sacrifice to save what's important to him. And the picture of it was like his house on fire in the background, so I thought it was going to be quite dramatic, but it was a very, very philosophical film, and it was 2.5 hours long. We got like an hour into it, and I was like, no, this is so boring, because there's just so many philosophical discussions, and it was almost filmed like a play. Like the acting was really overdone. It was inside this weird house that basically had very little furniture, and yeah, I realised that it was nothing of interest was going to happen. It was just going to be him coming to terms with like what was the right thing to do. And so it skipped forward, and we can see that like nothing happened throughout the rest of the film until he sets his house on fire like in the last 2 minutes. So yeah, we decided not to watch the rest of that one, and then we watched a vampire film called Humanist Vampire Seeks Consensual Suicide Victim or something like that. This is like a French-Canadian film, and it was quite good. It was quite funny. Yes, basically, as the title suggests, it's about this vampire who doesn't want to kill anyone. Her parents are killing people for her and storing the blood in the fridge so she can just go and have blood out the fridge whenever she wants to, and they get to the point where they say, oh, enough's enough, you need to go out and kill someone for yourself. And then she meets this boy who is sort of considering suicide, and he's like, oh, why don't you kill me, because I want to die anyway. So it was quite funny, it was quite amusing. I would recommend if you're looking for something kind of light-hearted. It wasn't incredible, but it was pretty good. So yeah, because of that, I ended up not doing as much reading as I thought, but I did finish The English Understand Wool by Helen Dewitt. This is really more of a short story that's been published as a novella, but it was only, well, I mean, on my phone it was only 75 pages, and the font was quite large, and the chapters were very, very short, so it really is more of a short story. Although I guess short stories aren't normally divided up into chapters. So anyway, I don't really want to say too much about this one, just because I think because it's so short, and quite a lot of it is you trying to work out what's going on, so I don't really want to give too much away. But basically we follow this girl who is discussing her mother mainly, and sort of her mother's very rich. She goes to Scotland every year to source tartan for a suit, and then she goes to London for 6 weeks to get it made into a suit by the best tailor in London, because she thinks that the English understand wool and the Scottish people don't, that they understand how to make tartan but not how to turn it into a suit. So yeah, we sort of follow her from there. She's talking a lot about her parents and their habits and what adds taste. It's a lot about customs, and then it goes from there. I thought this was really good. I think because it's so short, it like packed quite a punch, and yeah, I'd say it's like one of the best sort of short stories I've read in quite a long time. So yeah, I would really recommend this one if you're looking for something short. I wouldn't go and buy it for, I don't know how much it sells for, but I wouldn't buy it for like £10 because, as I say, it was very, very short. But if you can get this in a way that is free or cheap, then I would really recommend, because it was a very enjoyable experience. And then when I woke up this morning, 2 of my holds had come in from the library, so I think that my Antonia and Lolly Willowes I'm going to save for a later date, because it seems like they're pretty much always available, and I'm going to read the ones that I had on hold so that I can put on more holds, because I'm at my maximum holds limit as well. It's like a constantly revolving cycle of holds. And those 2 books were The Morning Star by Karl Knausgaard and A Natural History of Dragons by Marie Brennan. The Knausgaard I took out of the library before, but it was really long and I just didn't get to it in time. I read about 100 pages, I think. It's quite a long book, it's about 600 pages. And this is the start of his new, I think it's going to be a 5-book series. I know that definitely the first 2 books have been released in English. I'm not sure about the other ones, and I'm not even sure if they've all been released in Norwegian, but I really like Knausgaard. I've read all of the My Struggle books and really enjoyed them, apart from the last one I didn't like as much. I read that one earlier this year, just because it was 1200 pages and about 500 pages of that was a biography of Hitler, which is not what I signed up for. But yeah, I really wanted to read his new series, and I think what I found quite jarring when I started reading it before is that I've only ever read his autofiction, and this is very much not autofiction. You're following different characters. Some of them are sort of similar to him, but some of them are from like young girls' perspectives, and that just like, it just sort of took me out of the story. I've read about 30 pages so far and I'm enjoying it. I just started from scratch because I think I tried to read it like over a year ago, and I couldn't really remember anything, and yeah, starting it from scratch, knowing that it's not autofiction, that it's going to be a narrative of lots of different people, I am ready for it and I'm enjoying it. I really like Knausgaard's writing. I think he has such a way of really describing really mundane things but making them really interesting. So in the first chapter of this book, because we follow, I think it's 9 different characters' perspectives, and so I'm not sure how it's going to work, if they're all just going to get one chapter or if we're going to cycle back around them. But in the first chapter we have this man who is at home, and he has 2 young sons and a wife. And his wife seems bipolar. She's really high and then she's really low, and at the moment she's like on a real high, but that makes her do things that are kind of erratic as well. When she comes into the house, she accidentally steps on their kitten and kills it, which is a very unpleasant start to the book. And he has to go and deal with this, and then we're sort of following a day in his life. And she also says that she saw lots of crabs right in the middle of the forest when she was walking home, and he's like, that seems weird, why would there be crabs in the forest? So yeah, I can't really remember what happens from there, but when I read it the second time I was like, oh, that seems really interesting, so I'm going to read that. And then I also, I reserved A Natural History of Dragons. I don't really know much about this, but it says the subtitle is like The Memoirs of Lady Trent, so I think it's sort of like a fake autobiography. This woman who is a famous dragon like historian, or like has written books about dragons, recounting her life and her encounters with dragons. I saw that Lyd from Lyd Loves talked about this in a video where she was talking about light academia, and so that made me interested in it because I've not read any light academia really. I'm still trying to get into fantasy and figure out what works for me, so I thought that would be an interesting one to try out. So yeah, I'm going to give that one a try. I'm still in the middle of The Lady's Paradise. So I think that's going to be enough to keep me going for the next week or so. So yeah, I think I'm just going to finish the vlog off here. I've had quite a good reading week, I'd say. I really enjoyed The Witness for the Dead. I liked All Fours by Miranda July. I am still enjoying The Lady's Paradise. I really liked The English Understand Will, and I'm hoping I'm going to like Morning Star and A Natural History of Dragons. So I'd say very successful. I do quite enjoy doing these weekly reading vlogs and just talking you through what I'm reading. I feel sometimes like when I sit down to film my monthly wrap-ups at the end of the month, I either, because I've read some of the books weeks ago, I don't have a very good memory of them, or I just have so many to speak about that I end up rattling through them and not really being able to give my full thoughts. So I think that this is a nice way to have a more in-depth discussion about some of the books that I've read. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I will see you again in the next one.